Hey guys, so we're going to go over answers for the Q formula page. So here are the numbers you should have had for the bottom. Now if you have anything that you struggled with, I'm going to walk through all the questions so you can go over whatever you need to for some extra help. So these numbers at the top in red, they're on your paper. We will always give you those numbers. You don't need to memorize them, you just have to use them in the formula that you choose. The way you're going to do that is by looking at the numbers and the keywords. So I see numbers here. What I noticed first about this question is that it only has one temperature in it. So that means it cannot possibly be Q equals MCAT. It could be either HV or HF. So I need to look for a keyword to help me decide between those two. I see melt in here, which means that it is the heat of fusion formula. So I'm going to write Q equals moles HF. Okay? I'm looking for the amount of energy. X goes there. They don't give me a mole number. Instead, they give me a gram number. So we're going to do a quick fence and turn our grams into moles. Ice is still water, so it's still H2O. We're going to find the mass of that. There are two hydrogens. They weigh 1 apiece. Oxygen is 16. When you add all that up, your mass is 18 grams. So if I do this in my calculator, it says 1.944444, 3 sig figs. Right here, this equals 1.94 moles. That's what we need for our formula over here. And then I need the heat of fusion to go with it. That's this number that was given. When I multiply together, I get 11.6594. Then you're going to decide on your sig figs. We didn't use this 0, so I'm going to look at the 35, which had 3 sig figs. The third sig fig in my answer is here, but the 5 is going to make that round up. My answer becomes 11.7. Then you have to decide. Energy can be joules or kilojoules, but you don't have to work really hard. You just have to look at what was given. This was 6.01 kilojoules per mole. Because that was in the unit, that's what you will put on your answer. Don't put the mole, just put the kilojoule. Alright, let's look at the next one. Find some numbers. The first thing I notice about this question is that it has 2 different temperatures. Whenever you see 2 different temperatures, your formula has to be Q equals MCAT. So that means I'm going to be using one of these C values, and we'll decide on that in a minute. Okay? I'm looking for the amount of heat, so X goes there. The M in this formula already stands for mass. Remember, the unit for mass is grams. They gave me a grams number, so I don't have to convert anything. It was already the unit that we needed. To decide on the C value, notice the difference is it's joules versus calories. The question has joules, so we're going to choose the C value that says joules in it. So we're going to use the 4.18 because it has joules here. Okay? For the delta T, you need to take the 2 temperatures and subtract them. You'll always want to do the bigger one first so that you don't end up with a negative number. Okay? There's all your pieces, and then you just have to use algebra to solve. If I combine like terms here, this becomes 7. Multiply everything together. Calculator says 1609. And last thing is sig figs. So we didn't use this 100, so we don't care about that. This had 2, 3 sig figs. That means we want to have 2 in our answer because we want to go low. The second sig fig is here. The 0 and the 9, though, because they got chopped off, we're going to replace them in our new number with zeros. Without a decimal, they don't count as significant. Lastly, we have to decide joules or kilojoules. Since our original C value had joules in it, that is what we will choose to put on our answer. Alright, next one. Let's find some numbers that will help us decide what we're going to do. This one, I see 2 different temperatures. As soon as you see 2 different temperatures, your formula has to be Q equals MCAT. That means I'm either going to use this or this C value. Okay? So I'm looking for the number of calories. That means the Q value, so that's where X goes. M means mass. The unit for mass is grams. This number already has grams attached to it, so we're set to put that there. For the C value, notice the difference is that this one says joules and this one says calories. Since the question mentions calories, that's the C value that we're going to use. That's obviously the one that we want because it has the unit that we want. So we're going to put the 1 next. For the delta T, we have to subtract the two different temperatures. You'll always need to do the bigger one first. Bigger minus smaller so you don't get a negative number. Okay, then we're just going to multiply and combine all this together. This subtraction equals 11. When I multiply the rest of it, I get 2750. Then we're going to take care of our sig figs. So we had 2 here, 3 here, 3 here. We're going to go low. We're going to aim for 2 sig figs. That's right here at the 7. The 5 is going to make it bump up though, so it's going to become 2, 8. Then for the 5 and the 0 that were chopped off, we're going to put zeros back in to make our number more equivalent. Lastly, you have to decide on a unit. Since we had calories, that's the unit that you're going to put onto your answer. Alright, let's find some numbers. I see this. And I see this. So we only see one temperature, which means it's not possible to have Q equals MCAT here. So I have to decide, is it HV or HF? Okay, so we need to look for another keyword to make that decision. So I see that we have steam here, and I see that it is condensing. Those are both keywords for the HV formula, so that's what we're going to use. So we're going to do Q equals moles HV. Okay, so I'm looking for the kilojoules. It even tells me the unit. That's the Q number. I don't have a mole number. I have a gram number instead, so we need to do a fence to switch that. The chemical that we have is again water, good old H2O. Need to find the mass of that. There's 2 hydrogens that weigh 1 apiece, plus oxygen, which is 16. That's a mass of 18. When I do that conversion, I get 4.72222222. We started with 3 sig figs. This 3 sig figs is 4.72 moles. That's what we need to put into our formula over here. The HV number is given as this, 40.7. You don't have to memorize that, just find it and use it. When I do this multiplication, I get 192.104, and we're going to check out our sig figs. Even though I highlighted this 100, we didn't use it. So we're just going to go off of the 3 sig figs that were here. The 3rd sig fig is here at that 2. The 1 means I don't need to round up. Then I have to decide, is it kilojoules or is it joules? So there were 2 clues. It says kilojoules in the question, but if you weren't sure, notice that the HV unit has kilojoules right in it, which means that's what we're going to put onto our answer. Oops, too far. Okay. Let's look for some numbers here and figure out what's going on. I see this. I see this. So I only see one temperature, which means it is not possible for this to be Q equals MCAT. That means it's either our HF or HV formula. We're going to look for some keywords to decide which one. I see boil in this one. Whenever you boil, that means HV. It's the same thing as vaporizing. So our formula here is Q equals moles HV. Okay? So the problem is they didn't give me a mole number, they gave me a gram number. So we're going to convert those 73 grams into moles. Again, we have water, which is H2O. We need to find the mass of that. There's 2 hydrogens that weigh 1 apiece. Oxygen is 16. That's a total of 18 grams. When I do that in my calculator, it gives me 4.0555. We had 2 sig figs, so I'm going to round this. That gives me 4.1 moles. That's the number that we need to put over here into our formula. The HV number is given. That's the 40.7. When I multiply, I get 166.87. And then we're just going to check out our sig figs. This 100 wasn't of any use to us, so I don't care about that. 73 had 2 sig figs. So if I want to figure that out, I need to find the second sig fig in my answer, which is this 6. This other one, though, is going to make it round up to 1/7. We need to fill in a 0 for the 6 that was on the left side of the decimal. These other two on the right side are going to fall away. So our answer is 170. And lastly, we're going to decide kilojoules or joules. Since it said kilojoules in the question, and because our HV number had kilojoules on it, that is what we will use for our answer. Oops, too far. Alright, last one, let's find some numbers. I see this, I see this, I see this. So, the first thing that I see here is that we've got two different temperatures. Two different temperatures always means the Q equals MCAT formula. So I'm going to be using one of these C values. Okay? I'm looking for the energy, that's the Q number. M means mass. The unit for mass is grams, so I'm looking for a gram number right here. You do not need to do a fence, it's already grams, so you can leave it alone. Now we have to decide on a C value. The difference is we've got joules and we've got calories. The question says joules, so we're going to use joules for our C value. So we're going to use the 4.18 because it has joules in it. For the delta T, you need to subtract the two temperatures. Always do bigger minus smaller. Otherwise you're going to get a negative number and you do not want to have that. Okay? So if I do this subtraction, it's 22. Then if I multiply everything together, I get a really big number. But we'll take care of the sig figs for it. So I had 4 here, 3 here, 3 here. The third sig fig over, because we'll go low, is right here at the 1. The 7, though, is going to make it round up. So I'm going to have 5, 5, 2. For the 7 and the 6, we're going to fill zeros back in so that my numbers are closer to the original. Lastly, we're going to decide on a unit. So we have kilojoules or possibly joules. Our C value had joules in it, and it asks for joules, so that's what we'll put onto our answer. Alright, let me know if you have any other questions.